Welcome to Shimba channel. Today, I wanna talk about how much it actually costs to live alone in Japan, especially in Osaka. Well, I've been living for many years. How much does it cost to live alone in country? Feel free to compare as you watch. Let's start with an overview of what kinds of expense you usually have when living alone in Japan. For most people, the biggest cost is rent. After that come food expenses, utility bills, phone and internet, and then there are things like entertainment and social activities. The total cost varies a lot depending on whether you live in a big city or a smaller town, and of course, on your personal lifestyle. In this video, I'll explain these costs mainly based on Osaka, while also showing how different they can be from Tokyo. Rent is where you'll see the biggest difference. In Osaka City, places around the major stations like Umeda, which is Osaka's main business district, Namba, which is a big shopping and entertainment area, and Tennoji tend to be expensive, but if you go about 7 minutes to an hour away by train, the prices drop a lot. A lot of single people in Japan choose a 1K apartment, which is basically a studio with a small kitchen. If you want more space, a 1LDK is common too. One of the big advantages of Osaka is that even larger layouts are still relatively affordable compared to Tokyo. The price difference can be huge. For example, the apartment I've lived in were like this. A 1LDK, a residential area of Osaka, was around 80,000 yen per month, and the 2LDK closer to downtown was around 140,000 yen. Both are new buildings with clean, modern facilities. Even so, compared to Tokyo, they were quite cheap. In Tokyo, it's very common for the exact same layout to cost 1.5 to 2 times more, especially around the stations that are only a few stops from the city center. Prices jump really fast the closer you get to central Tokyo. How is rent in your country? Some places are even more expensive than Tokyo, while others are surprisingly affordable. Let me know in the comments. Next is food. In Japan, the amount you spend depends a lot on whether you mainly cook or mostly eat out. Cooking at home can be very cost-effective. Ingredients like vegetables, tofu, eggs, chicken, and pork are usually affordable, so many people can keep their monthly food costs around 20,000 yen. But if you eat out frequently because of a busy job, it can easily go up to 30,000 or even 40,000 yen. Even though eating out costs more, weekday lunches are often quite cheap, usually between 500 and 1,000 yen. So compared to many countries, eating out in Japan is still reasonably affordable. And when it comes to Osaka and Tokyo, the difference in food prices isn't that big. Osaka feels slightly cheaper, but not by much. When I was living alone, I combined simple home-cooked meals with affordable eating out, and my monthly food cost was usually around 15,000 to 20,000 yen. If I went out more or had drinking parties, the total naturally went up. My daily meals were pretty simple: bread and yogurt in the morning, a homemade lunchbox for work, and rice, miso soup, salad, a main dish, and one side dish for dinner. To make things easier, I usually rotated the same dinner menu and cooked a little extra so I could use the leftovers for the next day's lunch. I was originally born in Osaka, but when I joined my first company as a new graduate, I had the option to choose between working in Tokyo or Osaka. At that time, I checked the rental prices in Tokyo, and even apartments about 30 minutes away from the office were 1.22 times more expensive than Osaka. And in many Japanese companies, your salary doesn't change depending on where you live. There's no special allowance for living in Tokyo. Also, as I mentioned in another video, Tokyo's rush hour trains are incredibly crowded. And the idea of going through that every single morning made me hesitate. So overall, I didn't see a strong reason to choose Tokyo, and I decided to stay in Osaka instead. Utility bills changes a lot depending on the season. During summer, air conditioning can get expensive, and even in 1 LDK, it can cost around 10,000 to 15,000 yen a month. In winter, electricity goes down a bit, but gas expense rise because of heating and hot water. Water bills are pretty stable, around 2,000 yen per month for most people. So overall, utility costs for a single person usually fall between 15,000 and 20,000 yen per month. For communication costs, Japan has many low-cost SIM options, and it's easy to find plans for around 2,000 yen per month. A lot of rental apartments including internet for free. So many people don't have to pay extra for home internet. My phone bill is also below 2,000 yen per month. Entertainment expenses vary a lot depending on the person, but Osaka has tons of things to do. There are shopping areas, cafes, movie theaters, gyms, events, and countless restaurants. It's not quite as busy as Tokyo, but there are still plenty of choices. A movie ticket in Japan is usually around 1,800 yen, and karaoke prices depends on the area. But the prices I often use little thing for 500 yen per hour. Transportation in Osaka is also pretty affordable thanks to its well-connected subway and JR line. On my days off, I usually spend time reading at cafes, playing games at home, or hanging out with friends. Even with that lifestyle, my entertainment costs usually stayed between 20,000 and 40,000 yen a month. Of course, things change if you travel or go out drinking more often, but that's what it looked like for me. What is entertainment like in your country? And how much does it usually cost? I'd love to hear about it. So that's an overview of what it costs to live alone in Japan, mainly focusing on Osaka. Affordable rent is one of Osaka's biggest advantages, and depending on the area and apartment layout, the difference compared to Tokyo can be quite large. On the other hand, food expenses, utilities, and communication costs are much easier to adjust based on your lifestyle, so with a bit of planning, you can manage these costs quite well. When I was living alone, my monthly budget looked something like this: about 80,000 yen for rent, around 20,000 yen for food, another 20,000 yen for utilities, and about 20,000 to 40,000 yen for entertainment. So in total, I was able to live comfortably on roughly 140,000 to 160,000 yen a month. For someone working full-time in Japan, this is a fairly realistic and manageable amount. But if you live in Tokyo, rent alone can easily be 50,000 to 80,000 yen higher, which pushes the baseline closer to 200,000 yen per month, and that can be tough. I'll continue sharing more information about life in Japan, so if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave a request anytime. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to share your own experiences, please feel free to leave a comment below. I always enjoy reading your messages and hearing your perspective. Your feedback really helps me improve, not just with my videos, but with my English too. See you next time.